Everybody, welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name, and today we're talking a little Rayshot here. The Spear of Iria Rayshot. Is my camera in the way? It kind of is. Let's move it down here. The stats aren't important. It's based off my gear. So yeah, this is the new gold unit. I forget the name of it. Epic? Is it epic? That's epic. Unit they added to the game. Figured we'd go over them. I don't know if other people have, but you guys know how I do. I have a soft spot on my heart for lower rarity units. So let's kind of go over his skill set, what he does, and how I think you could build him. First of all, maybe the hottest gold unit. I just did a husbando tier list. I don't know, but this guy is definitely a borderline S tier. Look how jacked he is, bro. He is so jacked. Anyway, let's move on. Also, although he's the Spear of Iria, he actually uses axes, as you can see here. So, I don't know. So let's go over his trait first. We're just going to go with level 5 because he's a gold unit, right? So most people will be able to get him to level 5. 15% bonus HP. That's a lot of HP. Ignores block. That's like so overused now. I feel like every breaker just ignores block. Maybe that's part of the theme, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not unhappy that he has it, but it feels like every breaker gets that now automatically. At the start of the battle, gains speed 2 and move 1. So 100 speed and 1 movement for 2 turns. If you have any speed or movement effects, you also are going to get physical damage and piercing damage increased by 20% when attacking. So getting a damage boost, I believe, is better than attack boost usually. Again, I don't know what the exact math. I'm sure there's a break point where one becomes better than the other. But because this character is going to be doing a lot of piercing damage, which ignores defense, I assume doing increased damage as opposed to increasing your attack is going to be better. Also, just starting, this is basically like Xavier, right? It has kind of a Xavier similar start. And then this 20% is always on as long as you have a speed or movement buff, which is very easy if you have something like Gloria, or I don't know, even like Simona can increase other people's speed with the, I guess it's the Book of Augusta. I just always have it on my Simona. So it is not hard to get one of these buffs, but you're going to not want to put them on a team without a way to refresh this buff. Overall, it's a pretty good trait, and I actually like it. If we look at his base skill, it is a reasonable skill, not a crazy good skill. But physical damage, single target attack, deals 120% damage before attacking, dispel 2 buffs on the target, and inflicts vulnerable 1. Right, all of that is good lines of text. 120%, a little bit low. I'd like to see like 140 on something like this, I guess, or vulnerable 2, but it is not like a bad skill. It is a pretty reasonable skill you're able to do. It might make it on the bar. It depends if you're willing to spend Convallaria or not on this character. Going into his actual ranks here, rank 1, this one seems super easy to me. When on standby, gains move 1 and climb for 1 turn. This is okay in the sense that when you stand by, your next turn you're going to get the extra movement, and that will give you the extra damage. But I say just bring someone that can either give you movement or speed, right? I don't feel like you want to do this. Although, like, I don't hate the skill, but I just don't think he has room on his bar for it. Charge Pursuit, I feel like this is a just pretty darn solid skill here. It's not crazy good, but it works with the next ability at rank 3 we're going to be looking at. And I think that makes it probably worth picking up. Just in general, not big damage, but it works with this next skill, so that's why I like it. Rank 3, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine with the game, is for like soft recommended using Convallaria. I don't mind it as much on legendaries, but like this is a gold unit, and you want both of these skills. I really wish they could have moved something around somewhere to make it a little more, maybe I didn't feel like I had to get this character fully utilized, but the skill I didn't take, which I think is really good, is probably his best attack. Spear of Iria Assault. Single target attack, deals piercing damage equal to 90% of your physical attack. You ignore assists, so they can't even jump in front of you. And before attacking, for each tile moved, attacks increase by 3% up to 15. So if you can move 5 tiles, you're going to get 15%. Then you gain dodge, lasting a turn. So 90% is not a high percentage, but this guy has what looks like low percentages, but this is piercing damage. 1, he buffs his own piercing damage, but 2, piercing damage is a damage type. It ignores all of their defense and magic defense. So when he hits someone, it's as if they have 0 defense with this, right? And it also ignores armor and shields or whatever, right? So if they have like 7,000 or 100,000 physical shield, this will just go straight to HP. So piercing damage is like the best damage type. And the downside is it has lower percentages, but 90% is pretty darn good. That is going to be better than what you see here, and you'll be surprised at the damage output of these numbers. Being able to ignore assist is good. Being able to get up to 15% bonus attack before attacking. Being able to get dodge. This is a great skill. How did I not take it? Well, on the other side here, you have maybe his best skill, period. If no preempt or strike back is received after performing a single target attack. So it doesn't work when you get attacked back, but if you hit someone in the back, this will pretty much always work, and a lot of characters just don't have strike back. Is received before performed, pursues the target. So you do a secondary attack, dealing piercing damage equal to 50% of physical attack, which can be triggered up to 1 time. So every turn, this is like a free 50% damage that you hit. It works with your basic attack. It works with your charge. You know, you'll end up doing 30% damage and then a 50% damage. It will work with this, but this is basically, I think, the most important skill because it tacks on every turn an additional 50% damage. 50% piercing damage of your physical attack. So super good. It's just a lot of damage. It actually turns out to do more damage than like my normal attacks, it feels like somehow. Well, I guess it makes sense because we'll get to the basic attack in a second. Both reactions, I think, are reasonable here. When hit by an attack, you reduce damage taken, and after being attacked, you gain 2 movement, which is good because it works with this passive. 2 movement is quite a bit better than 1 movement on average. I mean, obviously, it's always better, but I mean, like, it feels like is 3 movement to 4 movement feels less good than 4 movement to 5 movement, at least for me. But this only does something if you get attacked. So if you are using the Spear of Iria and use the dodge, that could be pretty good. But honestly, I think just getting the preemptive attack, this is very good because this happens before they attack you. You'll smack them for 70% damage. Overall, I think this is just more easy to use, and it is more damage output over the fight as opposed to like a positioning thing. And again, you could bring movement on a different thing, on a different character, so you don't have to worry about it. But I like both of these, although I definitely think the preempt is a little bit better. Rank 7 is where I think you have to make a decision, maybe based on the team you're going to run this character in. If you're going to have characters that regenerate energy, I think you're going to want to go with Overlord's Roar. This is the exact same skill that August has. 170% single target, dispels 3 buffs, and inflicts isolate for 2 turns. You could use it every single turn, but it costs 4 energy. It's hard to get enough energy to use this, but if you have energy, like if you're using Tyre, Bitterwort, anyone that could just like, or Coco, people that could passively give you energy, this will be the best way to spend your turns for the most part. However, if you have a little bit less energy and you want less, you want skills to not cost so much, basically, you know, because you have a 3-turn cooldown. This is like a big boy version of this other charge here. This is no energy. This costs 3. Selects 1 enemy within a cross-shape range, performs a charge, dealing piercing damage equal to 30% of physical attack. 30% is pretty good. It's significantly better than... This is 30% damage. This is 30% piercing damage. That is already quite a bit better because it's as if they have 0 armor. It is a very low percent, though. But you turn off the reaction skills, which means it will be very easy for this to work, right? So you'll do an extra 50% piercing damage, and you give them vulnerable, too. So vulnerable does work. With piercing damage, I believe, because this is damage, but there is also like piercing damage vulnerability, which I believe is just a different version that can stack in a different way. It's not like vulnerable doesn't work with piercing damage, but piercing vulnerable only works with piercing damage, whereas this works for all damage types. After attacking, you gain physical defense 2, magic defense 2 for 2 turns. This is also an instant skill, so you could run up, use the charge, you get to use this, and then you smash them with the Spear of Iria Assault, all right? Like, this is a lot of damage right away. The issue is you're going to have this on cooldown for 3 turns, this on cooldown for 3 turns, but you did do a lot of damage. And he does have a good basic attack, so this might be the way to go. I don't love this skill over Overlord's Roar. Overlord's Roar just does 170% damage. This is mostly about, like, I mean, it's good, but I think it's too expensive for what you get. 30% piercing damage. Yes, you get vulnerable, and you get some defensive stats, but at the end of the day, it is still 30%. And it is an instant skill, but I would rather just save the energy, use the slightly worse version, and then get Overlord's Roar, right? You could rely on someone else for vulnerable, too. Maybe you're running Magnus. Magnus is pretty good with that. Is this a Fortitude character? That I can't remember. Aggression. Okay, he is not. So that is kind of how I went. Rank 9 is very... This one I actually think you could choose powerful attack under 10%, but he has such a cool basic attack here. Deals piercing damage equal to 25% of physical attack to the target you're picking. So you pick a target like you would normally, deal 25% piercing damage, which is not good, but that's how I know this isn't that good of damage. It does about that much damage, a little bit less. But then you deal 40% piercing AoE to all enemies in a 1-tile radius of the character. So again, 40% is not that high, 25% is not that high, but when it's a basic attack that ignores all of their defense and all their armor, basically all their defensive stuff, and this is actually 65% on the target as a basic attack, that turns out to be pretty good. However, it might just be better to do 110. I think it depends. Like if you're running like Ballista and stuff and getting their defense down to 0, the higher the enemy's defensive stats, the better piercing damage is. The more you focus on lowering it, the worse it is. So this character is going to be good on a team that you're not like using Homa to shred 60% of their defense. And then, Warhorn is still good, but if someone has insanely high defense, this is going to be very good. It might be really good in the Tower of Adversity because the piercing damage can not only ignore shields and stuff, but I think it ignores like normal damage reduction. Because I remember Lash doing a lot of damage to those medium-sized plants. So very good skill in general. And it makes me feel like maybe the Swift Spear Charge plus Spear of Iria Assault is reasonable. You could run both of these. Also, keep in mind, so this is what would happen, right? You Swift Spear Charge, then you use your Intimidating Presence, and then you use the Spear of Iria, and you have one really big turn. Then you have 3 turns off, basically, but you still get to go around and use your basic attack, which does 65%, and the target you hit does an additional 50% piercing. Right, so you could do the 110 on one target plus that. I feel like the piercing is a bit better in general. So it's kind of weird. This character can be really, really good on some maps, but also just like worse than characters that are using higher percent base things in other maps. As far as items go, I like just the tuning hammer. Just get your stats, right? He doesn't scale off of any defensive stats, so you don't really need this stuff here. He does have a really high HP, so you could go, but when attacking, if the enemy's HP percentage is higher than the character's, you don't want this one. What's the other one? The Feast Axe. If the target's HP percentage is lower, you get 20% attack. This is probably pretty good too. You don't want to ignore defense. You don't really care for that on this character at all, but getting 20% more attack and then maybe recovering HP is good. You could use the Gale Sword if you don't have another character you want to use it on. He doesn't really have any crit synergy. So he's not going to land the crit per se, unless you like have it specifically in all of his gear slots. He doesn't have anything in his kit, but it is still potentially reasonable just to get the 10% physical attack, and it is still possible to crit. So it's not like you can't possibly crit, but I think Feast Axe or Tuning Hammer are probably going to be what you want. Not a lot of good axes, honestly, but the ones that we do have are pretty good. But I don't feel like because there's like piercing stabs. I wish there was like a piercing dedicated, axe. Maybe there is going to be one coming out. I kind of like the Maverick's Cloak because my goal is for him to charge into the middle of characters and then start hitting them. But I'm a little, everyone knows I kind of like the Maverick Cloaks a little bit too much, I think. Other than that, you could do, like, he does get passive piercing damage increase, so you could run something like Prairie Fire, right? Piercing damage equal to 10%. And this is, while you have movement or speed, piercing damage dealt is increased, so you could get more damage than normal out of this or out of the Flying Arm Blade. But I would kind of more focus on just getting stats. Shield of Justice is probably his best. It just helps keep him alive. You could go with the Crystal Bust Armor, get some more strike back. It is kind of a pick your favorite thing. I'm not super like, holy shit, you need one of these. I think they're all pretty reasonable on them. As far as Taros, like, obviously everyone knows the Devil is great. I think that the crit chance could be good if you're going with the other hammer, right? The one where you want to actually land a crit. The Gale Sword, that's when you're considering using a Maverick Cloak, right? Because that gives you 20% crit. This gives you 0% crit, but then you can get another 15% crit there. So you're still not like 50-50 even. I think you're less than that, but you're getting there. That could be something, maybe reroll the RNG. I'm a Wheel of Fortune believer. I just like it in general for characters like this. One, it does piercing damage, right? So you're getting bonus damage because it's piercing damage to all enemies in range. It doesn't tell me exactly how much, but I believe it's like 10% of your attack plus magic attack. So I like that you could just get a bonus damage on that. Recovering his own energy is good when you're trying to get the Overlord's Roar. Recovering allies is not really what this character cares about. So the nothing is bad, the healing allies is bad, but then the other ones are all pretty good. Increasing damage, damage taken reduced, and the healing's not even bad. It's just not what you're looking for. So I'm a Wheel of Fortune believer here, just in general. And then other than that, I would just try to get his stats as high as you can. You don't really need off-turn stuff. I mean, obviously Magician maybe is the best for pure damage. It kind of usually is, and he does have some AoE with his basic attack, but I don't know if it feels that important on him. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just a Wheel of Fortune believer for a lot of characters that when they could benefit greatly from a couple of them, I think it's pretty good. And the fact that it gets a bonus from the pierce damage, I think is great. But yeah, this is the character. He's been really fun to play so far. Actually, if we take a look, I believe I have a replay here we could watch. This is not like a perfect showcase or anything, but I was using him in Fireside Chat. He might even die here like pretty early on, but you can see here, right, he triggers that 50% thing. And so if we look here, this guy is not like particularly built. He's only at 4,000 attack, but these guys have pretty reasonable defenses. So he is like a damage dealer, but he's like such a weird damage dealer in the sense that he cares about piercing damage. And piercing damage, although is the best damage type, its sacrifice of percentage, you know, on modifiers is pretty big. But when he's good, he's really good. Yeah, so he went to attack him. He just preemptively killed him, which is great. I really wish his reaction, his preemptive attack, was like once per... I don't know if it's to term his round, but I wish like he could activate it after he attacked, and then on his preempt as well to kind of get double loved. You can tell I don't even know if I had gear on this guy at this point. I was just kind of doing whatever. All right, now take a look. This is actually pretty cool, right? Because you get to see this go off. So he does his attack, then Nona Will does his attack, then he does the second part of his attack, and then Nona Will does her other two attacks. So very, very cool with SP Saf, because his basic attack is honestly one of the best basic attacks in the game. AoE piercing damage is pretty legit. Just a casual 7,000, no problem. Didn't even need to finish them off. And yeah, I mean, look at that. Piercing damage isn't great, but I do like that's a little bit of a boost. But also, I just want to be able to use Overlord's Roar all the time without having to run multiple energy characters. So yeah, I mean, this isn't like the best showcase. Just kind of wanted to show you what he kind of can look like when he's in battle. Weird character. Is he good? I guess that's what it comes down to, huh? I don't know if he's actually like really good. I think he's got like the Xavier. I think he's better than Xavier, but I think Xavier is bad. You can see here I'm running Insightful Bash because Overlord's Roar has been too expensive. Insightful Bash has been pretty good. I think he is good. I think he's probably like a B tier unit if I had to guess. I think maybe if you get the Spear of Iria, he might be an A tier. Like this might just do a lot of damage. Like if you run up to someone, you charge in them with the Swift Spear, right? You do 30%, you vulnerable them, and then you hit them with, so it's 30% there, 50% here. Then you hit him with another 90% before attacking for each tile moved. This is a little awkward because you're going to want to do this. I don't know how exactly if this will work after you charge. Probably not. Maybe it does. But then you do this. Like, yeah, you're off for a couple turns, but that might just be a really good explosive single target start. And then you just kind of chop things up for a couple turns. So I think he might be A tier. I think he might be on the level of like Tempest. The issue is Tempest has got just like high stats, and Tempest does kind of stand around and dirtle a little bit, but Tempest has got such passively good stats that it almost doesn't matter. And the knockback slash is actually really good as well. I'm a big Tempest fan, but he's probably around Tempest level, probably below the Ballista level in terms of overall flexibility, because you would still, like, when you shred someone's defense, everyone benefits. He just doesn't care about you doing that. He doesn't get much damage, if any, when you shred all their defense down, because he's already ignoring it. But yeah, overall, very, very cool character. I like how different it is than the other characters. Really wish he was here at launch. I think this would have been like one of my favorite characters in the game. to use consistently for all this stuff. It would have been so fun. But guys, that's all for today. Much love, Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye.
On the rise, watch the views go up. Content king, never down, always showing up, hitting milestones. The fame never lets up. Click that link, dive in deep, never get enough. Gaming, blogging, every trend.